This is the Treu Real Estate 911 podcast with Lisa Treu. Lisa will share up-to-date real estate information with you that you need to know.
Welcome to Treu Real Estate 911. It's Brian Mudd with your local real estate pro, Lisa Treu. As a reminder, your best local real estate resource is at TreuRealEstate911.com. Not only does the Treu Group have information to get you up to date on what's going on in the area, a lot of helpful information inside and outside of real estate, but also one of the coolest tools you're going to find anywhere, the ability to search the MLS in real time like a real estate pro. Treu's, they pay for that service so you can use it. It's really neat. Something goes under contract, bam, right away. You see that. You don't have to wait for weeks like you do with Zillow and some of the other sites. And of course, if you are ready to reach out to the Treu Group, they're ready to help you 7 days a week, 561-972-8326, 561-972-8326. Lisa, we have a special show today talking about something that I know is near and dear to your heart. It's MyIntent. And before we get to that mission, that project, I wanted to get a temperature check on what's going on with real estate. I mean, I don't know what's crazier, that hurricane season is here or that it happens to be June. We know they coincide with one another, but oh my gosh, here we are. So as we're into the summer selling season, well, we've been into it, but really now almost officially in summer, what does it look like on the ground in Palm Beach County right now?
Palm Beach County is exceptionally active with both our local people looking to get settled before school starts. However, we're also seeing a lot of people from out of state relocating. They finally sold their homes from all over the country. They're ready to make Florida their year-round residency, and we're having those buyers coming down and starting to buy as well. From a price standpoint, anything under $500,000, we're seeing on our listings, multiple offers on most of them. And it just comes down to our multiple offer strategy, which has been exceptionally successful. And we're really excited about the results our clients are getting.
So the last time we checked in with you, single family homes for those families looking to relocate before the school year, that's what was really hot. Is that still the case?
It is. However, I will tell you that some of our active adult communities are seeing really great activity right now because the smart snowbird knows that there's less competition in the summer for buying properties. So we're seeing a lot of our snowbirds coming down now, even though it is exceptionally warm. I mean, Florida summer is here. However, they're coming down and securing their properties. And if it needs any updating or it needs any maybe renovations, they have plenty of time to have it perfect for the winter season.
In the luxury market, still soft?
Luxury market is still definitely a buyer's market with the exception of Ocean Access. And the Ocean Access is still doing pretty good. It's still a buyer's market, just not as strong.
Okay, so the opportunity, especially with mortgage rates still being near the 2017 lows, is still that move up buy, right?
Absolutely. Okay,
so as we are getting going today, just be mindful that if you are not already there, visit TreuRealEstate911.com. It's TreuRealEstate911.com. Or feel free to call the Treu Group at 561-972-8326. Now, Lisa, you have a bracelet that you'd shown me. You talked to me about it, and it's more than just a cool fashion piece. It actually has something behind it. It has a mission behind it. Tell me a little bit about MyIntent, and then we'll actually talk to the person behind MyIntent.
Well, you know, it's been really interesting because I made a decision about 3 years ago to start spending time with business people, people that were making a difference, maybe some great charities all over the country, and stop spending so much time at real estate conferences. And, you know, I mean, honestly, since 1989, I know everything that I probably can learn from a real estate conference. And so one of the people that I had the pleasure to meet through one of these events was Chris, the founder of MyIntent.
Yeah.
And he was very generous, and he allowed us to all pick a word. And the first time, I actually wear two of his bracelets. The first time I picked a word, I just picked one. It's actually passion. And
like that one.
Yeah.
You know, my thing's passion plus talent.
Absolutely. And one of the things that comes to me is that word for that first whole year that I wore that bracelet kept coming to me in the oddest ways, like tea. All they would have would be passion tea, for example. And then when we saw Chris at the last conference a couple months ago, he actually took us through this exercise of creating your word instead of just picking a word. And that was very fascinating. And I really was drawn to this word from a company standpoint. And so we actually created a company word, and everybody at our company wears one of these. And when I shared the bracelet with them, and I explained to them, you can go get your own word, and here's kind of how you do that.
Yeah.
But when I explained to them, I said, you don't have to take this word. If this doesn't connect with you, it's okay. I'm not going to be mad that you don't want to wear the bracelet. And yet, here's what it means to take it. And I explained what that word committed means to be from me as the founder of our company. And everybody was excited. And I don't think anyone's missed wearing their bracelet as a reminder of that level of commitment since we gave those bracelets.
Well, that's pretty cool. And so Chris Pan is the person behind MyIntent. And I'm pretty excited because I'm always goal-oriented. And we know that the more you're reminded about something that matters, the more likely you are to stay focused on achieving those goals. And the number one reason why most people don't achieve their goals is they aren't intentional about them. And so, Chris, I'm really interested to hear how you got started with MyIntent and what drives you.
Thank you. I think the macro environment that we live in, I used to work at Facebook, and there are so many distractions in our lives. There's so much going on. And I think what I realized was I needed a moment to pause and just reflect, like, what is my life about? What do I want more of in my life at this moment? It's easy to have that moment, and then we forget about it. And so having that reminder on my wrist has been really powerful for myself. And it's also led to many conversations and deep connections with other people. And it's been just a lot of positivity in my life, which I sorely needed. And it seems like a lot of other people are enjoying this as well. So that's what I wake up every morning to do, is just bring this very simple technology to the world. It's a simple process of asking yourself, what is today about? What is this moment about? What do I need more of? And then, in the same way we wear a watch on our left side a lot of times, we receive time. And on our right side, the intentional side of our body, this is what we're doing with that time and what our purpose in life is.
I'm sure at this point you have some success stories from people that have said, hey, you know what? Not only was this something that, was kind of a cool exercise and, I enjoyed doing it and having my bracelet, my reminder, but I imagine you have some people that have said, hey, you've made this kind of difference. Tell me about that.
The first one that came to my mind was the manager of a very popular and busy restaurant in Hollywood. We did an event there live for his guests. He picked the word patience. We didn't get a chance to understand. I didn't get to hear why he chose it. I kind of assumed maybe because he's, working with a lot of people and he needs to be patient, et cetera. And 3 months later, I run into him in a parking lot, and he goes, Chris, you don't know what just happened yesterday. I'm like, what? He goes, my bracelet fell off. I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, it was the perfect timing because that was the day my girlfriend decided she was going to move from Northern California to L.A.
Oh, wow.
And that's why he had chosen the word patience. It was very serendipitous that the day that he didn't need it anymore, it just kind of fell off.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a believer, and it sounds like you are too, that there aren't many coincidences in this world.
Yeah, many stories such as that. Yeah, and bracelets, sometimes they get lost, and it's like, oh, well, I guess maybe I'm ready. Maybe I don't need it anymore. Or necklaces, they fall off, and just things happen. And I think there are lessons both in setting the intention, in wearing it, and then sometimes when it leaves us, it's time for the next one. Life is a series of intentions, really.
Well, there's no question that highly successful people are successful because of having intentional goals they set out to achieve on a regular basis versus people that just get up and go through the process. And I love the idea about what you're doing. I'm actually reminded, I forget what you call them. I know that it's like a whole little cottage industry these days, but we were on a trip in Maui a few years ago, and we were just going to a party, and it was just to have a good time. And they had the people where you walk in that will draw on you, and they'll have you pose in a certain way. And and I actually blew it up, and it's a poster in my office at home. But it is my statement is passion plus talent is unstoppable. And so my wife and I ended up posing and doing that, and it became one of the instructive ways for me to remember in the day to day. When I get home, I'm sitting in my office and oh, geez, my issues of the day, and to stay focused and also to have a positive association. It sounds like what you do here has that type of impact on people in a very tangible and physical way.
Absolutely. Same reason we wear a watch, tell us the time. This is a notification on the other hand that tells you what's most important to you.
We also have with us Dana Cataldi, and you're a real estate agent with Partners Trust. And Dana, you've come across MyIntent and would like to share your experience about what it meant to you and how you ended up coming across Chris.
So I know that my coming across Chris was intentional, and it was also so fortuitous. So I'm an estate director at Partners Trust, which is a boutique firm here in Los Angeles. I was one of the first females to join the company, and we're now about 250 strong with offices all over the globe. And it's an amazing company, and the head of our company is someone he is a businessman, he is sharp, I have the most respect for him. But in our company, part of the culture is being intentional, is doing affirmations, is sharing, there's a spiritual component to our company, which has always really touched me, which has allowed me to just love and embrace, what I do and really be passionate about what I do every day. And so I had a listing up in the Hollywood Hills that my client owned and had it leased out at the time. And I went to do the showing and ended up that Chris Pan and his partner, Manu had leased the property, and they were sort of operating their first iterations of MyIntent.
No kidding.
Out of the house. So when I first met them and doing the showing, I saw all these incredible group of people just hammering out words and intentions and affirmations, and it really got to me. I mean, this was a small group who you could already tell from the get-go was so committed to what they were doing that it really moved me. So I asked Chris a little bit about it. I said from the beginning, I want to embrace this. Whatever I can do to get it out there, I want to help. And I really didn't even know them at that point, but I knew what they were doing was great, great work. I run a lot of empowerment circles in my office for women and men, and we do that in sync with part of our calendar year to get everyone motivated and feeling great about what they're doing and what they're bringing to people and doing for themselves. And so it was right around that time. At the same time, one of my partners, got ill with cancer. And she was an amazing woman, again, very spiritual, ran one of the circles with me. And I decided and we decided as a company to hold a fundraiser for her. And the first person I thought of was Chris and Manu. And I said, I really want them to be there. And what we did was we did a raffle, a cocktail party. She needed a lot of alternative medicines, so we were trying as a company to raise a lot of extra money that she couldn't get via insurance and raise on her own. So I had Chris come, and every associate in our company who wanted to do so, and I think there were maybe over 100, we all had Chris and his team stamp out one word that we dedicated to Naz in her journey through cancer and healing, and we put it on a huge necklace for her. And she kept it with her, and I think that kept her alive, many, many more months. I start to cry when I think about it. Then she could have, because every day it was us being present for her. It was a reminder of our intentions for her, and a reminder of hers, which was strength at the time. And so it was fantastic. And so I used Chris, I now have my own machine where I can make my own words. I just did a women's circle at my house last week. And everyone who came did their intentions and had to write down what they were. And from that, picked one word that solidified it. So they're all wearing that. So I think that with my work with them, I think I'd probably reach, about at least 2 groups, 3 groups a month with Chris's product. And I love it.
That's absolutely an incredible story. And I understand the desire once you get going, listening to you talk about the positivity, it just makes you want to be part of it. At least I can completely understand why this appealed to you in the Treu Group. I don't know if there's anyone else that with a higher degree of regularity I see seeking out a way to be more positive and to move the needle rather than being stuck in a sense of complacency. Yeah. So at least I'm sure that you have your own sense of how to utilize this in your day-to-day.
It was interesting when when I first met Chris, the one thing that I noticed, it was actually at a private dinner, first time of a group of us coming together for a West Chapman event. And the first time I met Chris, he sat at my table for dinner, and he just had such a calmness about him. And, you know, I feel like I'm amped up on, 20 pots of coffee half the time,
Well,
right?
because it's probably true.
Yeah. So, well, with or without the coffee, I'm usually amped up.
That's true. You are a high energy person.
Right. And I loved that calmness about him. And so I had no idea what my intent was. All I knew was like, this guy made me feel really, really positive in that moment. And so, and then I found out what he did, because he had given us these beautiful bracelets with our word on them. And so for me, it's a focus. Like, I do not take my bracelets off. I have them on when I sleep. I have them on when I work out. I have them on. They're constantly present. And so when I'm having that moment, it is that kind of just take a breath, refocus on what is my purpose, right? And like I said, that word committed, it really, it came to me through somebody else I met through West Chapman. It came to me through a conversation with a guy named Chris Smith, who teaches you how to tell your story. And so that committed word has just come to me over and over, like my personal word, passion, did. And so now the interesting thing is Steve Treu did his personal word at this event a couple of months ago, and separate from mine. And I don't know if he remembered my word or not. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
He cheated.
But his personal word is passion too. And it was great, the conversations that came out of that word between the two of us, of, how he came to that word and kind of what he, because he's kind of a quiet guy, right?
He is. Focused comes to mind too.
Yeah,
with Steve.
yeah. I mean, he's very purposeful on his thought process, and it opened up his kind of, this is what I want my life to be. And it was really a powerful conversation that came out of just a word, right? And it's not just a word. It's his word. And so I think it's just awesome. And he's made it so affordable that everybody can have their word, which is what I love. I mean, this isn't $1,000 investment, right?
Yeah,
to have your word. Everybody can afford your word, and every company can afford your company's word, because it is affordable, and which I love. And I think Chris said in April, he said, and he can explain it better, but he said, I'm not a jewelry company, right? He happens to, yes, the bracelets or their necklaces.
Sure,
they have necklaces too. But he's like, I'm not a jewelry company. And so maybe he can kind of talk about how he views his company, even though their product that they convey happens to be jewelry.
It's really important that they're accessible. I consider us a service project to bring just positivity and meaningfulness to the world. I view us somewhere between an innovative life coaching platform and therapy, somewhere in that. But we do it for people who otherwise wouldn't have this moment, and we do it in a very fun and interesting way. And it's always with you, because if you have a great session with a coach, you might forget that lesson, but if you have it on your wrist, then it's with you for the next 3 months.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too I love about this is that it's a word, and yes, you wear it, and yes, it's a reminder. But I feel like too, being in LA, I'm a single mom of 4 kids. It keeps me present with people. It's a reminder to stay with people when I get distracted. It's constantly, again, yes, with you. But what I love about Chris too is that when you define your word, Chris is sometimes, like, I had lunch with him recently, and he'll also challenge you on your word and keep you committed to that word.
Okay.
Why is it that word? And why'd you pick it? And what does it mean to you? So it's picking a word, but under the underbelly of that word goes very, very deep. And whether or not someone just sees the one word, there's a whole backstory to that word that you're always, always reminded of, and And that's where the real commitment to the word comes in.
Chris, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned your background was with Facebook. Now, for those of us that are only users of the platform and have only read about what it's like on the inside there, it seems like it's a very high level, very demanding, very successful company. And the day-to-day that I've read about anyway, and I don't know if it's indicative of what really goes on there, but it almost seems like it would be an environment that would be almost the antithesis of what you are doing by virtue of MyIntent. And is that something that to you end up coming to you in part because of your experience at Facebook, or was Facebook the ability for you to be able to launch this platform?
Both. A few things. At Facebook, there's different posters on the wall, and one of them is focused on impact. And that's been drilled into us. I was there, also keep in mind, I was there from 07 to 12, which Facebook today might be a little bit different. I can't speak to what Facebook is present day. I can only speak to the 5 years I was there. It's, we do things that make a difference. And so for me, when I wanted to think about what I want to do next after Facebook, I wanted to have a real impact. And so as I was picking through a lot of different ideas, this one felt like it was actually making a real difference in my own life and in the lives of my friends and family around me, and then now a lot of other people. That was a big part of it. Mark Zuckerberg is probably the most intentional person I know. And I had the privilege of spending a bit of time with him. I actually helped him learn Mandarin for a year.
No kidding.
Twice.
You were in that process. I remember reading all about it. Wow.
Yeah, so I facilitated 2 sessions every week where he was learning about Mandarin and Chinese culture. And just being around him, everything he does, from the clothes he wears to how he spends every moment, it's very intentional. There's a reason, and if it's not the reason, he doesn't do it. And I think being around that energy has shaped who I am a lot and how I approach this project. And also having been at Facebook, it's given me the financial means to really focus this project on impact. We've historically the past 2 years given away every penny we've had left over after we've paid all our folks to different causes, and now we're actively bringing our project to hospitals, to inner city schools.
That's great.
To places that can't afford it otherwise, because that's where this is needed the most. How
many people have you reached with MyIntent so far?
Probably about 500,000.
That's great.
Somewhere in that range ballpark, and I think by the end of the year, we'll probably break 1 million. That's the trajectory we're on.
Well, that's super exciting, because you talk about all the negative influences in our day-to-day lives, and a little positivity can certainly go a long way. Lisa, I know that you had mentioned at the onset you're ready to get away from some of those real estate conferences and get with people that might be focused on other avenues of self-improvement. And the one thing that I certainly have come to understand, especially in this industry over the years, is that you can walk around anywhere and find negative people. It's much harder to find highly productive, highly focused, positive people.
I think they're everywhere, actually.
And just don't know it yet?
No, it's interesting. The more I seek that, the more I see that.
Okay.
And so it's interesting how, and as you know, I've had some personal family commitments this year, and I've said no to a lot of things I don't normally say no to, and yet it's the right thing to do. But I'm a believer that when an opportunity comes, you say yes to it. It's how I have a radio show. It's how I have national endorsements, because I had no idea, but I said I'll figure it out, right?
Sure.
And so when I had the opportunity to go to a conference where I didn't know a single speaker except Gary Vee, I said, what the heck, let's go. And through that, I met Wes Chapman. And then I said yes to joining the circle and supporting Human Project. And through that, I met some of my closest friends in all kinds of industries. And, people that text me this morning, speaking of the word committed. So I was with a friend of mine at the same conference that Chris helped us go through this exercise a couple months ago. And I shared with him committed in my new company's definition of what that means, which means that this assumes that it's legal and ethical, that there's nothing I won't say, there's nothing I won't do, and there's nowhere I won't go to help my clients achieve their goals. And I shared that with him and how that different perspective, how it allows me really to be free and to truly be honest with people, to truly, and I tell people when they hire me, my level of commitment to them. And I truly will, for my team members and my clients, there's nothing I won't do as long as it's legal and ethical.
Well, yeah, I certainly can speak to it. I mean, what you did, when we had the 200 water properties and ended up move up buying pretty much simultaneously, doesn't happen without your can-do type of attitude, because there are plenty of obstacles to work through.
And so one of my great friends who owns a amazing company in Texas texted me this morning and said, look, past week has been a challenge. Like we all have challenging weeks, right? I mean, every business has it. And he said, and I kept hearing your definition of committed over and over and over in my head. And that came from a conversation because the word was on my wrist, right?
Yeah.
And so I do believe that there are obviously a lot of negative Nellies out there. And yet I think there's a lot of positive people. And what if you're that positive person who causes somebody who normally has never been around positivity to have that change? So, I think what you look for, focus on expands. And like I said, I've met some wonderful, wonderful people, and hopefully I will be that positive person that makes somebody else feel good about where they are.
Well, I know you. I know several people that you've done that for, so no doubt that you are successful. And Chris, as we wrap up today, real quick, if you'll walk us through the process, looks pretty straightforward and simple at myintent.org. How can we participate?
Take a second, think about the word you want. If you want some help, we have resources at myintent.org to think about, what's a virtue you want more of in your life, what's a challenge that you want to overcome, or what's something you're really passionate about that you want to spend more time on. They could all, as you think about that, they can all help you lead to your word. And then come to our website, get yourself a bracelet or necklace as a reminder. They're also amazing as gifts. And we have a code, TRU, if you want to use that, for 20% off. We set that up for you guys, for all the listeners. And then I'm Chris at myintent.org. If you have questions or thoughts, I'd love to connect. Absolutely
love it. So again, myintent.org. And you actually gave me a pretty cool idea as a part of an anniversary gift coming up here. Lisa, you can help me with it.
Absolutely.
All right. So Chris Pan, myintent.org, Dana Cataldi from Partners Trust, and I am Brian Mudd. For, of course, your local real estate pro, Lisa Treu. Visit TreuRealEstate911.com, TreuRealEstate911.com. Buying and selling questions 7 days a week. Treu's ready to help you. 561-972-8326. 561-972-8326.